The matchup of the entire weekend, in which I believe the SEC states are just going to sink to the bottom of the earth because this one is colossal, meteoric in its potential. Hopefully, an asteroid's not going to hit the field, and then we're not going to have any issues with Helene as well. Between Alabama and Georgia there in Tuscaloosa. Georgia's laid a point and a half in this contest. So looking at the standard spread, a lot of people on Bama plus 105 on the money line. Yours truly is leaning in that direction. I haven't fired off a ticket quite yet. Handicap it for me, Horvat. What do you got in UGA and Bama?
All right, so I'm betting Georgia, but really quick before I get to that, I do got to say I understand the Alabama love because they're dogs at home for the first time, I believe, since 1995. Like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, all my favorite bands were still on tour. Last time Bama was a dog. And, they've owned Kirby Smart 4-1 against Kirby. Bama is, since he took over at Georgia as head coach. And that's kind of why I like Georgia, though. Also, I just think about Kalen DeBoer, right? Like his two biggest wins last season. The reason that Washington made a run at the college football playoff championship was because they knocked off Oregon twice. And they beat them on a neutral as well in the Pac-12 championship game. And you think of where Dan Lanning came from. He came from Georgia. He was the defensive coordinator there. Pretty much runs the same defense. So Kalen DeBoer knows what to expect from that Georgia defense. And the Georgia defense is good, but it's not as good as it was 3-4 years ago, right? Like when Kirby was winning those championships. They're really young. They got a lot of new pieces this season. And it's been a weird offseason once again for Georgia. A lot of moving violations. The reason I like Georgia here in this game, though, they're battle tested. And I like their data point a little bit better than anything I've seen from Alabama. Now, Alabama's looked awesome. Jalen Milroe's been near flawless. He's only got one turnover-worthy play of the season, and that was in the opener against Western Kentucky. But go back to the opener, and you see Georgia beats Clemson 31-3. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. I thought, man, Clemson's down. And I still hate that wide receiver room. They don't have a wide receiver that could create separation. Since then, though, look at Clemson, what they've been able to do, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that offense with Cade Klubnik looks much different. They hung 59 points on NC State and pulled their starters in the second half of that game. They hung 66 points on App State. And I know it's App State, but Cade Klubnik and that offense looked much better. And then you look at who Alabama's faced. Western Kentucky, Wisconsin, who has maybe one of the worst offenses in the country right now. I think Phil Longo's probably looking for work here in a couple months. And they didn't have Tyler Van Dyke in that game except for one series. And then South Florida. And if you go back and you watch the South Florida game, man, Brown, their quarterback, missed 6 touchdown throws. I know, actually, Carson Beck's not going to miss those throws. Now, he's struggled a little bit to create some big-time throws. This offense not really explosive, but one thing is he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't have a single turnover-worthy play this season. He has 7 touchdown passes. He's probably going to be the first or second quarterback taken. And I know they're not hitting a bunch of explosive runs, but Trevor Etienne and Nate Frazier are still averaging at least 3.7 yards after contact. And also what I love about Georgia here, one last thing, is that they're coming off a bye week. Last time we saw them, they struggled to beat Kentucky, and Kirby Smart has used every opportunity to rip his team, to the press, to the media.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be motivated. If he's doing that to the media, to the public, think of what practice has been like the last 13, 14 days at Georgia. I'm not saying Alabama's out there hey, if we lose this one, we'll still get ice cream after the game. But, yeah, man, I think this game just means a little bit more to Georgia. Again, if they don't lose in the SEC title game to Bama, they're in the college football playoff last year, and they're favored by 4.5, 5 points against Michigan, the eventual champion. So I'm going with Georgia, but I do get the Bama love.
Yeah, we're not going to be seeing anybody at Baskin Robbins, I don't think, there for Alabama by any stretch of the imagination, for sure. The numbers near it's coming out to play right now. According to the data there at College Football Insiders, Georgia, number 7 EPA per play offense, number 14 EPA per play defense. Bama, number 5 and number 7, respectively, in offense and defense. A little bit more balance, though both these teams just powerhouses on paper. The projection, College Football Insiders, Alabama, 31.41. Georgia, 27.25 for a difference of 4.16. Bama, again, is an underdog in this game, and they are giving them a 62.32% chance to win straight up on the money line. The numbers nerd is definitely leaning Roll Tide in this one at plus 105 there at BetMGM.
I need your breakdown. I need your pick. And also, do you think the winning quarterback of this game, whether it's Milroe, who right now is 7-1 to win the Heisman, or it's Beck, who's 16-1, becomes the instant Heisman favorite, since it's probably the best quality win, I'd say, so far, whoever wins this game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going with Georgia in this one. I think it's going to be a really close game. It's honestly a coin flip. I think Kirby Smart knows exactly how to defend Jalen Milroe. He did it last year, the SEC title game. Now, I know they lost that game, but Milroe had his worst game passing-wise in terms of grading all year. So he knows that, hey, you have to get after him. You got to blitz him, make him speed it up, because if you do that, he's not that great. Whereas if he's got time back there, he's going to hang on to that football. He's going to launch it downfield and probably beat you that way. So, I think Georgia's going to win. It's going to be a great game, though. I think it might even be an ugly game, really. I think both offenses could have some struggles in that one. And then to answer your Heisman question, I think it's an interesting question. I think it's possible. I haven't really been – I think especially if Alabama wins, I could see Milroe taking over as the favorite. Beck hasn't really been that great so far, so I don't know if he'll automatically take over as the favorite, but they certainly will move up. I'm in the boat right now that I think Travis Hunter is a clear-cut Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, what he's doing this year is absolutely ludicrous, and I don't think we've ever seen it before. So, to me, he's a Heisman Trophy winner until proven otherwise. But I do think that the winner of this game, that quarterback, will probably leap up in the odds quite a bit.
I also want to ask you about this Utah game. You got Utah right now laying double digits this weekend against Arizona. I'm not going to ask about the Cam Rising situation because who the hell knows. But I feel like that might be too many points, and I know that's a tough place to play, one of the toughest places to play in the country. But you got Noah Fafita, all those offensive weapons. What do you think about that game, Utah and Arizona, with Utah laying 10?
Yeah, actually, in our preview show, I went out on a limb. I picked Arizona to outright win that game. Now, I don't feel really confident in it, but I do think Arizona can do some things to bother Utah. You mentioned Tetsuo McMillan. He's probably the best receiver in college football right now. The problem with Arizona, he's really been the only receiver for the Wildcats this year, so they got to find something else, because otherwise, I mean, if you give Kyle Whittingham an easy assignment defensively, like, he's going to execute it really well because he's one of the best coaches in America. So Arizona's got to find something else outside Tetsuo McMillan, but I do think, especially if Isaac Wilson plays, I mean, he was not very good against Oklahoma State last week. I think that, if Arizona says one-dimensional offensively with just Tetsuo McMillan, with Isaac Wilson in there, Utah's pretty one-dimensional as well. With Mekhi Bernard, their running back. So it could be a one-dimensional offense versus a one-dimensional offense. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than that spread would indicate. And I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona outright wins that game. Again, I don't feel confident in that pick right now, but I do think Arizona will keep it closer than most people think.